Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, a very heartwarming thanks to everyone for joining this live session, the live virtual book launch of the first time. To start with, and before we dive deeper and have some amazing guests doing the launch for us, joining us, I want to start by telling you the story of the first time, by telling you how the first time actually came about. So, to begin with, I started actually writing very young. So I started writing when I was somewhere around, in standard fifth or sixth. Obviously, those writings were very horrible, and but it was a passion, and I continued writing relentlessly, and I wrote, a lot of poetry, and then a lot of stories when I was very young. And I come from a very from a family which is a huge literary enthusiast. So my mother, my father, my sister, and now my even my wife, they are all huge literary enthusiasts. So I was bound to actually be drawn towards this entire world. And I still remember that it's a very special story, a story which is very close to my heart. That when I used to, I'm from Jaipur, I hail from Jaipur. And when I used to attend Jaipur Literature Festival, which is like the Medina of literature world, in literature world. And I used to always attend, so it has been 9 to 10 years since I have been attending that festival. And I always told my mom, and I mean most often I used to attend it with my mother, and I always told her that one day I'll be on the other side of this stage, and you will be here as a delegate, as an author guest. So that dream is yet to be achieved, that dream is yet to be fulfilled. But today I'm extremely proud to announce the launch, the official launch of my debut novel, The First Time. So I'll start by sharing how the book actually looks, and with the brilliant and beautiful cover designed by the designers at Lead Start Publishing. And before we even move forward, or before we even start the event, it's very important for me to thank everyone who has been a part of this entire book. So and in the last couple of weeks, when the book was towards its closure and we were preparing for the virtual launch event, my wife kept asking me how I feel. She kept asking me that your dream of 15 years is going to come true, is coming true. How do you feel? And actually, I told her that it's surreal. It's I can't believe it's happening. I can't believe that the moment has come. And I mean, even when I held the book in my hand, the first copy in my hand, I actually was numb. But today, right now, even when I do like 2, 3 webinars every week related to my business, invited by colleges. But today I feel nervous because that moment has come, and it is finally sinking in that this is launching. So it is extremely a special moment. And I'll first of all obviously start by thanking everyone who has been a part of this. May it be my family who has always pushed me into creative stuff. May it be my wife who actually motivated me to complete this story, which was pending since 1.5 years now. And obviously the amazing team of Lead Start Publishing. I never imagined that my book will be published by one of the leading publishers of the country. And and their amazing team. I mean, they have done amazing. Their support has been extremely. I'm a very difficult person to deal with. I have my own demands. I make get a lot of changes done, and I mean, their team has been extremely supportive of my ideas, my dream, and have actually put in their heart and soul in bringing this alive. So, and obviously, a shameless plug which will continue coming. The book is officially now live for buying. Please go to the links in the description to check it out, and Amazon and Flipkart, both links are in the caption, and you can go there and buy the books right away as we speak. So while I would, now that we have more people joining in and a lot of people connected with us, I would actually like to play the official teaser of the book once. So thank you everyone who has joined us by now. And before we start the session, I just want to remind everyone that this is streaming live on Facebook, and you guys can ask questions. Please feel free to ask questions. I'll obviously be talking about the story in details as the session progresses. But please ask your questions. They'll all be addressed. We'll try to address as many questions as possible. And now extremely important part of as we start the book launch officially, I'm extremely happy to invite my first guest on stage. And interestingly, before I announce the name, I want to tell you that we met like I don't know 7 8 years back, and he's the man who has actually been behind the revolution of content and laid the foundation of OTT and storytelling in India. So, with very heartwarming welcome, I invite Arunab Kumar, the founder of the Viral Fever, to stage.
Hi, everybody. Hi. Uh,
Hi, Arunab. Thanks a lot for taking out time. I think you need to switch on your video. Your video is not.
Wait, I think, yeah. Hi, everybody. Hi, Pawas. Hi. It's a pleasure to be here and lovely trailer. I just saw the trailer of the book and I think it looks very exciting, Pawas.
Thanks a lot, Arunab. First of all, I want to thank you very much because we had been our one of our interview sessions with Arunab about his new venture was so busy with a lot of things. I also kept forgetting it. But when I told him about the book, I told him that I'm launching my book. मेरे लिए करना ही है मैं कैसे भी टाइम निकाल के आऊंगा बट आई कम फॉर यू व्हिच इज वेरी स्पेशल एंड थैंक्स अ लॉट अर्नब फॉर
Most welcome. As you can see, I'm in between meetings or yeah, Starbucks में. But thanks to good internet connection, which is a welcome change in our country over the last 5 years. So I think this is possible and really happy to be here. Uh, and congratulations for your first book, Powers. It's a amazing feat.
Thank you so much, Arnav. So, I want to start by asking you one very important question. And because, I named this session from one storyteller to another. So, I want to talk to you as a storyteller and I want to ask you that how do you find what story to tell? मतलब आप कैसे decide करते हो कि मुझे ये कहानी बतानी है या how do you know that it will work or it will not work? Because, as a new writer, it is very important for me to understand your perspective.
See, I think if anybody knew the answer of this question, everybody would never make a flop or never write a book which doesn't sell. But I think you don't really never know. You never actually know which one will work or not. I think you definitely know that what is that one story that you're passionate to tell. What is that one story which excites you to wake up in the morning and start writing, stare at a blank laptop in front of you with no words written on it, and you want to fill it up by evening. Uh, it's also a lot of research. It's very autobiographical. People have gone through different experiences, and the ones which excite them is what people want to talk about. I think that is the only way to choose a story to tell. I don't think anybody should try and second guess to tell a story which will become a hit or a flop, because that may not be the best way to approach it. And if it's a fluke, sometimes it might be a hit, sometimes it might be a flop. What you can always ensure is the excitement and motivation behind telling a story, and as long as that is there, the amount of homework that will follow and the amount of exercise that you will do in order to make that tell that story well will automatically ensure, hopefully, its chances of becoming a hit actually becomes better if you're inspired by the story. I'm really passionate to tell it. So I would always tell you to choose that, and everybody to
नहीं
choose
तो
tell their
मतलब
stories.
मैंने मैं बहुत इंस्पायर होता हूँ रियल स्टोरीज से आई लाइक टॉकिंग टू पीपल अबाउट देयर स्टोरीज एंड प्रॉब्ली मेरी बुक में भी बहुत सारे कैरेक्टर्स और बहुत सारी स्टोरीज रियल लोगों से इंस्पायर्ड है so how do you think in the stories that you have created in all these years how much do you think your fiction is real या वो कितना रियल है या वो कितना रियल से इंस्पायर्ड है
I think again, like महाभारत भी हुआ है, लॉर्ड ऑफ द रिंग्स भी लोग देखते हैं, एवेंजर्स भी देखते हैं, एट द सेम टाइम घोसला भी देखते हैं, मेड इन हेवन भी देखते हैं, पिक्चर्स भी देखते हैं. मुझे लग रहा है कि आई थिंक इट डिपेंड्स. सी you I think this whole world is built up of stories. It's always been around. Humans have written so many fiction, non-fiction. People also sell truth is stranger than fiction. So sometimes the things you can never create actually are the true stories. I personally, it's a personal choice. I personally like stories with a moment of truth, stories which are true. I am drawn to them. Uh, at the same time, there are people like Stanley and there are people like J.R.R. Tolkien or R.R. Martin who have written Game of Thrones, which have I hope there are no dragons in the past or in the future. So I think that inspires them to tell. Ultimately, relationships, dynamics, conflicts, and those things remain the same despite the characters, be it a Star Trek, a Star Wars, or a Lord of the Rings. So that is those inherent ingredients are always the same. The treatment, the world can be fantastic, fantasy, the world can be unreal, but ultimately the elements of the story remain the same. And we as humans have only been dealing with those. Uh, I don't think even with fictional characters we have told stories of experiences and emotions that we have never seen or heard of. So I think that's why I personally I like real stories. So you're right.
Interesting. So, my entire book, Arunab, is about an entrepreneur who comes from a tier two, tier three city and has to make it big and has to compete with the bigger leagues. So, you and me, I mean, we are first generation entrepreneurs. We are from a tier two city, we are from a non-metro city. So, what do you think is the one biggest challenge that a first generation entrepreneur like you and me would face in the startup ecosystem or etc.?
I think it's a I think entrepreneurship is challenging for everybody. I think it's easy for anyone. Be it from a small town, village, or a city, but yeah, I think there is a good start line that you might or might not get. If you come from a not so privileged background or a small village and stuff like that, you have a set of challenges. If you come from privilege or from good background, that also has its own set of challenges.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty much how you drive it and what is your motivation and inspiration to be an entrepreneur. Frankly speaking, I am very old fashioned in this era. I am truly inspired by people like Coco Chanel and Walt Disney and Steve Jobs and Madame Curie and all these kind of people who didn't have entrepreneur magazine at that time, who didn't have blogs which were writing raving articles about founders. So there was nothing in 50s, 60s, 40s. ऐसे magazine में glorify नहीं किया जाता था. So, but they still ended up the founder of Lego or still made Lego what it is. So I actually am inspired by that generation. Uh, be it Narayan Murthy sir or be it the founder of Balaji Chips in India. I think these guys are not doing things because they have read 5 articles on Facebook and say, wow, yeah, I should be this. So I think that is who I am. So I fell in love with something that I came across in my college days, and pretty much have been doing that for the last 15 years of my life. And I think I
Amazing.
can do that for 150 years more. While there are another set of people who are maybe who are equally geniuses who do 10 companies in their lifetime. There are people like Elon Musk who have sold 5 companies and starting 5 more. There are those kind of people, and they are phenomenal, and they do so many disruptions in one life. So I think both are the thing. They are the ones who know trends, who spot trends and start up. There are people like us who just love one thing and want to keep doing and innovate on that. Both the sets are needed. Both the sets have their own journeys. Mm, Personally, for me, it has been always about empowering writers, creators, animators. I just started a company for comic books called Indus Comics.
Yeah.
That again is for comic book artists. So I have always believed to use technology and processes and engineering to tell better stories and art. This has been my philosophy of life, and by building great teams and enabling them, this is what I know. I don't know anything else, uh, and that's what I've been doing. And while there are people who are you take Apple has been inspired by art and creativity to get great technology. It's exactly opposite of. So I think it's what drives you. It's what keeps you happy every day of your job. I believe in being process oriented. If you enjoy the day job, I think that's the way you need to choose.
Right.
And, that's the
Interesting.
way.
So, Arnav, finally, before go and I mean, you ask for finally the last question, and most importantly, actually not a question, but I want you to, talk to all those millions and billions of dreams and entrepreneurs from non-metros in India who want to start there, who want to start in their city, closer home, and want to still compete with the big leagues. I mean, it is a very demotivating, sometimes a very demotivating journey for them. I know hundreds of such people who are trying to make it big. What would be your message to them? Because that is the audience I address in my book also, and I want you to talk to
So,
them as well.
so I think the only one thing that I would like to sort of suggest, I think, is that I think there is internet everywhere. There are smartphones everywhere. I think that we are very fortunate. We are a very fortunate generation to have these two things. And if you have these two, and no matter which village you are in, no matter which state or which town you are in, you have access to these two. You can actually access to a laptop. You can do things. So there are entrepreneurs on Amazon who are selling stuff. There are all kinds of entrepreneurs from small town who are using Meesho and want to do stuff. So I think it is possible. There are people who are coming up with great companies out of Faridabad. So I think all of that is happening. Yes, it is slightly tougher in order to get a team, in order to be in the network where a lot of things happen, where the action is. But I think with internet, if like you said, necessity is the mother of invention and innovation. So if you are stuck in a place which has doesn't give you those luxuries, then I'm sure it will give you some other opportunity as well. So focus on that. Try and focus solving a problem which you really love, and everything else will fall in place. And definitely, before starting anything, learn about three things, which is finance, legal, and PR. These are the three things which everybody neglects, and they think that okay, so these are three equally strong pillars to start business, and they are actual work. So love your work, and I think it should be you should say it.
Thank you so much, Aruna. Thanks a lot for taking out time for this, and thanks a lot for taking out time for me personally. So,
Thank you
any
so much
last
for
question for
talking
you?
to you. Yeah, so happy to see you come such a long way, and we've met each other 7 years back, and we've always had our conversations. I personally enjoyed, and in fact, I didn't even know कि book लिख भी दी मतलब मैं तो बहुत pleasantly surprised था. So all the best यार. Looking forward to read the first, and पढ़ के बताऊंगा, and to all the viewers यार, I think it's going to be one hell of a story. So give it a read, and looking forward to get a copy and start reading it.
Absolutely, your copy is absolutely on the way. Thanks a lot, Aruna. Thank you for joining me. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Pawas Jain. Congratulations once again. Bye, guys. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.
Bye.
So that was Arunab Kumar, founder of the Viral Fever, who has actually been weaving stories himself and within his companies for last so many years. And as you know, we discussed in the session that I have known him for last 7 or 8 years now. And now the next guest, I mean another guest who I know, who is again very special to me in a way that I have known him also for last 7 to 8 years. We have met very few times in life, but have always maintained that bond because probably because we hail from the same city as well. So, inviting my next guest to the stage for my book launch, who is Manish Maheshwari, who is currently the managing director of Twitter India and has been previously the CEO of Network 18. So, first of all, thanks a lot, Manish, for taking out time for me personally and, and coming and doing this for me.
No, thank you, Pawas, and it's a pleasure to be here on this. And congratulations on your book launch. And I look forward to reading it, getting a copy, and reading it. And you're right. I mean, we belong to the same city,
Yeah.
and I also visited your office in Jaipur. I don't know if you remember
Yes, yes, of course.
one time. So yeah, it's always good to
Yeah.
stay connected and see you progressing and doing interesting things in life.
Yeah, I remember we enjoyed our Desi office wali thadi ki chai,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
Bela Visual.
yeah,
So great. So Manish, my book talks
yeah,
entirely about an entrepreneur who hails from a non-metro and is trying to make it big and
yeah,
facing all the challenges. It talks a lot about the dark side of the startup ecosystem, which is beyond the $1 million funding that we see in media. The question that I want to ask you is, because you have mentored and seen so many startups closely yourself, do you think that there is the right infrastructure now in India or for the startup ecosystem, especially in the tier two and beyond? Is the right infra to start from that city itself and not move to a metro city?
Yeah. So I'll answer that in two parts, right? Pre-COVID and also post-COVID, I have what I've seen, right?
Yeah.
Pre-COVID, we have seen that infrastructure has been improving. I mean, in cities like Pune or cities like, I would also say, areas around Chennai, and also I've seen in Jaipur as well. There is a Kardukwe there and Culturally there, quite a few of them, right? Now, having said that, the challenge then was that you need economies and you need ecosystem services, which were sort of progressing much faster in bigger cities like the Delhi NCR, the Gurgaon area, and then areas around Mumbai, and then of course Bangalore emerged as the leading center where everyone was congregating. So clearly, many founders saw benefit in being in those areas because you clearly have the advantage of connecting with people and meeting them impromptu, and having a meeting set up at a very short notice, and also bonding with people in the fraternity, right, in the evenings and otherwise over a coffee, right. So that was clearly a benefit of co-locating, right. Now now that was then, right. Now COVID has completely changed things. I mean, at this point in time, it doesn't really matter
Yeah.
where you are and where are you. You can be anywhere in the world. As long as you have a good internet connection, you are as good as in the same place, right. So COVID has accelerated a decentralized workforce culture, and also a culture where geolocation is, you are geo agnostic as
Yeah.
far as, right. So then what people are now doing is they are choosing a location where they are most productive and where they are most creative and where they have comfort. And in the US, people are relocating to Florida. I mean, if you look at all the VCs are going and living in Florida. Even in India now, people are starting to think about, like, why do they have to be in Delhi and face all the pollution and all the other health issues, or why do they have to be in Mumbai and live in a very constrained 2 BHK and not have that villa or the garden.
Yes.
And even in Bangalore, why do they have to face the whole Bangalore traffic and other issues, right? So COVID has accelerated a new way of working, which is very technology enabled. And in my mind, the future is decentralized workforce, which is your engineers can be anywhere, right? I mean, you don't have to be in a same location, as long as you have good collaboration tool, which would mean that can you collaborate on your code base? Can you collaborate? And if you're a marketing person or a marketing person, can you collaborate on creative ideas? Or if you're a BD person, can you do a client call, or you can start a new relationship virtually? So those skills are becoming more important now. So my view now, right now, is that COVID, in a very perverse way, has actually been good for entrepreneurs who are actually not in big cities.
Yes.
And I feel that this trend will continue because it's happening for such a long time that new habits are forming,
Yeah.
and these habits will not go away right away. I mean, COVID has been here for now almost a year now, and I think it will stay here for a couple of more months. So it's good for tier two and tier three entrepreneurs. Having said that, the challenges also, let me also bring about the challenges of being a tier two or tier three entrepreneur, right? So
Yeah.
the challenge has been that there haven't been too many role models in those towns in the past, right? And therefore, it limits your ability to think, because when you look at your role model, you start imagining yourself in their shoes, and if you don't have too many role models, you can't think at that level. Your aspirations are curtailed because you look at people around you and you reset your expectations to those people around you. And the third is support system was lacking, and those are the real challenges I feel that tier two, tier three entrepreneurs face.
Interesting.
Let me pause there.
You talk about the challenges in a very interesting way, and I want to take that forward and ask
Yeah.
you, because beyond this glamour and the fundings and the acquisitions that we see, a lot of entrepreneurs, face a lot of mental health issues, anxieties, and stuff like that. Because whether we believe it or not, beyond the glamour, it's a very lonely place to be as an entrepreneur.
Hmm.
And I follow, the anxiety part and the mental health part of the entrepreneur very closely in the book. So how do you think that one should face the failure, or one should battle this mental health issue that an entrepreneur has to actually face alone?
Yeah. So you brought up a very important and a good point, and I think it's very important to think about things in a slightly longer way, right? Because ultimately, if you have a well balanced life and you live a healthy life, you are able to contribute more and you're able to perform at a higher level, right? So it's very important to have that personal work life discipline, which is basically means that you need to be really clear about what is your work life and how do you separate that from your personal life and passion, and never ignore your health, which is basically making sure that you're eating well, you're exercising. And these days there are such good apps available. In fact, if you're a tech person, I mean, this has been the best time where you can almost track every information about your own health and pay attention to it. So the problem that has been happening is that in tier 2 tier 3 towns, people also take things slightly more personally, and they start attaching stigma to any kind of a small failure, right? And one has to elevate beyond that, saying you are a you are a medium through which important work is getting done. Therefore, even if something doesn't work out the way it was supposed to work out, it is not a personal failure, but a failure of the way things were organized, right? And you need to slightly become less. Uh, you need to become less harsh on yourself, and you have to embark on like what could have been done better, and get your energies on the creative side of things, saying, okay, maybe this didn't work out this way, and here's a logical explanation to why it didn't work out. See, everything will not be successful because you work hard or because you are smart, right? I mean, success is not a function of how many hours you work, nor is it a function of how much of a momentary smartness you show. Success is a function of structurally, are you doing things in the right way, which is scalable, sustainable, durable, and are you then creating the mechanism and organizational layer which can then carry on that thinking and the vision, right? So that's where I want to tell all entrepreneurs that slightly like try to be less harsh on yourself. Be be thinking more in terms of how the organizational system should be, which allows you that freedom to also have a great quality of life, at the same time do something that you're passionate about, right? And that distinction, maintaining that distinction is, and level headedness in that area is very important.
Yeah. So you make a very important point, Manish, that entrepreneurs need to I mean take things in their stride and not be under any sort of a pressure of wanting to be something. But that is actually what my next question is linked to. That don't you think that the Indian ecosystem and how we have projected it in the last probably a decade has focused it too much on the glamour of fundings and actually not so much on the business and the revenue side of it. So, don't you think that is in itself a lot of pressure for the entrepreneurs, seeing the big guys make it, unicorns being built, and all of those things?
Yeah, so I think it's very important to have that maturity to separate what you read in the press from
Correct.
what is reality. Like what you read around you, like sensationalism and sensation around the funding
Yeah.
uh, is one part of it, but ultimately you have to come back to and know the fact that you're actually running a business,
Exactly.
right? Unless you're doing a volunteer work or a philanthropic work, this
Yeah.
is a business. And I think in any business, you need to think about what is your revenue and what is your bottom line. Those two things never go away, right? Because if you don't have a bottom line, which basically means you are spending more than you're earning, someone has to fund it,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So the funding can be your own money or someone else's money, or like somewhere the money has to come in. And I think whenever the money comes in, the money expects a return, right? So fundraising in my mind is not a mark of success. It essentially means that you have given up your ownership in the company and you have diluted your stake. The real mark of success is that are you able to build a sustainable business.
Correct.
Now raising money is important as well because you want to share the risk, you don't want to have the entire risk, right?
Yeah.
But having said that, your eye or your focus should always be on how do you build a business which ultimately is profitable. And in the interim, if you are raising money to fund your growth, how are you raising in a way which is prudent and disciplined, and in a way that you are not parting away with more than what you should be parting away. At the same time, you are staying true to your vision. And that also means sometimes having that conviction within yourself and feeling secure about the fact that you're on the right course. Just
Right.
seeing a news headline on someone getting funded, in my mind, is not a cause of celebration. The real cause of celebration is, are they building a durable, sustainable business that is delivering value to their internet customer? And is the business model here is going to stay for a long term, right? So that's how I would want every entrepreneur to evaluate things, right? And not get carried away by a momentary news. News has it comes in cycles and phases. I think it also passes very quickly. I mean, what's a hot favorite startup this year will probably be very different every year, right? I mean, every year there's a flavor. So one needs to know that this is the flavor of the year, right? And not get too bogged down by that.
Exactly. I think that is extremely an important takeaway and a message here that, funding is not something to be celebrated, but it's actually the business model and the long term scalability of that particular business that is to be celebrated. And finally, the question that, in your entire time and in your day schedule, with the kind of schedules you have, do you actually get time to read books? And if you do, then what kind of stories do you like to read?
Yeah, so in fact, my reading habits have changed, right? I mean, I have a daughter and I am spending a lot of time reading along with her. So my style of reading has changed to all the way from Hindu mythology to all the way to reading about, basics of computer programming with her. She's 11 years old, so we do a lot of things together. If I get some free time alone, I do read a lot of business books, which is about how great brands are built and how great companies are built. My all-time favorite is Built to Last. That's a book, and I think I encourage all entrepreneurs to read that. The other
Yeah.
interesting one, which I read some time back, a couple of years back, was The Lean Startup by Eric Rice. It
Okay.
talks about, how do you test your hypothesis pretty quickly, and how do you make sure that you are
Yeah.
making real tangible progress in understanding the customer pain point and building the right product without actually overextending yourself. Because if you can keep yourself lean, you don't even have to raise money until you have proven the idea, or you can raise a small amount of money. So being lean on that is very important. The other book that I liked reading some time back I read was it was about The Meaning of Life by Viktor Franklin. So it allows you to stay very level-headed and focus on the right things in life, because we get carried away by something that is very sensational in the short term, but ultimately what really matters is really knowing what is the purpose of your life and how you want to be seen and how do you want to carry forward on that. And I think those are the couple of books I enjoyed reading. So
Right.
having said that, time is a luxury these days with so much going on everywhere. So
Yeah.
it's difficult to get a moment to spend on reading book.
So I hope that my book is the next on your list and you actually like
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. In fact, I look forward to reading that because it seems like it will be far more relatable to me.
Yeah.
And coming from a tier two town,
Yeah.
so that would be something I would look forward to reading.
Absolutely. That is the entire motive that people should actually feel relatable. It is the story of those millions and thousands and millions of those entrepreneurs who come from non-metros and want to make it big and the challenges they face. So thanks a lot, Manish, for taking out time for me doing this personally, and I really thank you for doing this.
Thanks, Pawas, for having me, and good luck with everything. Take care.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So that was Manish Maheshwari, the managing director of Twitter India. And while we, prepare ourselves for the next session, for the next guest, a lot of people have joined us on the live very recently, and I would just like to, take them through the video trailer once and to give them a flavor of what actually the book is about. And also, while we do that, a shameless plug again that the book is now live for buying, and the links of the book are in the caption, both Amazon and Flipkart. Please do check it out and buy it from Amazon and Flipkart. So we have our next guest with us, and again a person who is very has been kind of a motivational factor in my journey. Has always been there to support me. Has I mean, whenever we have a conversation about anything, any new idea that I have, she's extremely supportive, extremely happy to hear my new ideas. So welcoming Shweta Shalini from joining us from Mumbai. She is a very passionate entrepreneur herself, always coming up with new ideas, and of course the spokesperson of BJP. So thanks a lot, ma'am, for joining me and doing this for me during my book launch.
Thank you, Pawas. I had to be here. So first and foremost, can you see me?
No, I think your video is on, but we can't see you properly. It's all dark.
Okay. Give me a second. Can you see me now?
Not yet.
I'm on now.
Yes, yes.
Okay?
Perfect. Yes, all perfect.
Okay, good. So thank you, Pawas. I had to be here because yes, there is always a first time, and the first time is difficult. But I'm sure this is not the last time for you, like all the entrepreneurs. And it was very, very important for someone at least to, document the first time. So congratulations. I think you've done a favor to a lot of first timers. And I'm sure the journey would have been extremely difficult, but it would have been also very difficult to document it.
Yes.
So let's
Absolutely.
discuss your journey.
So I have always, told, I mean, whoever asked me about the book, I told them that it is, of course, about the first time, but then it is also about the darker side of the first time, the challenges that entrepreneurs face, the failures that they have to face. And coming on to that, I want to ask you, I mean, in your experience of mentoring so many startups, being a very passionate entrepreneur, first generation entrepreneur yourself, what is the single biggest challenge that, first generation entrepreneurs specifically face?
So let me give you something from my own experience myself. The first time when I quit the company that I was working with, I had been working with this multinational company for about 7.5 years. And I was doing fairly well. I was being paid well. I was successful. I was considered as something called as high pot, which was high potential. And I was considered as somebody who would go break the glass ceiling and so on and so forth. And at that
Yeah.
point of time, when my chips were up and I was seeing a lifetime high, I went ahead and quit the company. So when I called up my father turned around and asked me कि क्या हो गया बेटा अभी कल तक तो सब चीज ठीक था so बॉस से झगड़ा हो गया क्या so I said no I want to move on I want to be an employer I don't want to be an employee I want to give jobs so my father turned around and told me that तुम business करोगी so, Pawas, you come from a Jain family, so people like me had to fight first and foremost the mindset of the own family members. Ki bhai, entrepreneurship. When I told them, no, I want to be an entrepreneur. So my father said, I can't even pronounce that properly. So, I'm sure हमारे खानदान में I come from a service background. किसी ने business नहीं किया. And I'm very, very proud to say this that my father is 67 today and he's the youngest entrepreneur of the family today.
Oh.
So that's how I think one of the biggest challenge is mindset, the mindset of your own self and the family and the people around you. A lot of people, when we started recruiting for our first startup, came to us to say that हमारे parents allow नहीं कर रहे हैं because obviously we were starting 18 years ago. हमारे पेरेंट्स अलाउ नहीं कर रहे हैं बिकॉज हमारी शादी की उम्र है एंड पापा कहते हैं कि अगर अभी नॉन कंपनी में नहीं रहे सो देयर आर पीपल हु वर रेडी टू वर्क and do Excel management in Infosys, but did not want to come and innovate with us. I think the mindset is one of the biggest challenges. The second and another big challenge is talent acquisition. Both these things has been worked on in the ecosystem to quite an extent.
Yes.
But the third most important thing, which is finances, because is something that we still need to work on, because at some point of time, yes, once you are successful, a lot of people start betting on you,
Yeah.
but the seed idea, not a lot of people want to bet on. And that's where I think we need a lot of seed funds. A lot of people have come into it. A lot of Jain families, a lot of traditional family houses are now stepping into the entrepreneurial space through investment funds, which is a great idea in India, because India ecosystem of entrepreneurship now is seeing a big high. And it's only because people like you who were first timers at some point of time have actually challenged these three factors. And I personally feel that the challenges that I faced were slightly easier for you. And the challenge you face will get slightly easier in the ecosystem, because very soon in India, every house is going to see an entrepreneur.
Definitely. So, my very this is a very interesting aspect, because you said that with every generation the ecosystem keeps on evolving. तो मेरी बुक में जो protagonist है, basically the idea is कि उसको जिद है कि उसको अपने नॉन मेट्रो में रह के ही अपना स्टार्टअप बड़ा करना है. He wants to be closer to his city, do something for his city, and it's an entire journey of the challenges that he faces doing this. तो do you think that a youngster today, जो भी एक इंडिया में हजारों लाखों लोगों के सपने हैं, dreams हैं of becoming an entrepreneur, do you think it can be fulfilled being in a non-metro and still competing with the big leagues? Are there enough opportunities in the non-metros?
गुड. तुमने मेरे एकदम दिल की बात बोली है, बिकॉज एवरीवेयर दैट आई गो एंड टॉक अबाउट मेंटोरशिप, वन ऑफ द फर्स्ट एंड मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग्स आई से इज इंडिया लिव्स इन द रूरल एरियाज. एंड आज तक क्या हो रहा है ना, ये रूरल एरियाज को हम पता है कैसे देखते हैं, हम देखते हैं टू गिव बैक. वी टॉक अबाउट CSR, कॉर्पोरेट सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, डोनेशंस. एंड दैट इज द रीजन वाई 70-75 साल से हम गांव चलो की ओर कह रहे हैं. इफ यू सी रूरल एरियाज, द इकोनॉमी दैट नीड्स टू बी डेवलपिंग एंड देयर ओन इकोसिस्टम इज बीइंग डेवलप्ड. आपको बोरोलिन का छोटा सा पैक रूरल एरिया के लिए मिलेगा ही. एशियन पेंट्स रियलाइज्ड एट वेरी अर्ली इन देयर टाइम्स दैट गांव वाले जो है ना, उनको पाउचेस चाहिए होते हैं. क्यों? क्योंकि वो अपने गाय और बैल की सींग को पेंट करते हैं. So that's how the idea of pouches came by. A lot of people think that shampoo pouches were built for travel, but ideally shampoo pouches by large corporates were built for rural areas.
Exactly.
So there has been a trend to basically make products for rural areas, because there is a huge economy there. So we need to stop looking at it from give back to actually a win-win. And that's when that is going to develop. Unfortunately, पावस क्या है ना, हमारे देश में आज भी हम जो स्टार्टअप इकोसिस्टम की बात करते हैं या स्टार्टअप की बात करते हैं, स्टार्टअप जैसे ही तुमने स्टार्टअप बोला ना, मेरे दिमाग में वो टेक्नोलॉजी ही आती है. So when you talk about a startup, I am only thinking tech startup. And because you're thinking tech startup, I will start thinking of broadband, I will start thinking of connectivity, I will start thinking of other resources. And that's where the challenge of rural areas starts. But with the government now creating a parallel infrastructure of broadband across 6.5 lakh villages, I think that is going to be, and 5G coming in, I think that is going to be a thing of the past. Second, the talent from the small cities are now, as of now, have been moving to the larger cities, and hence the talent is available there. Also, because of cost, a lot of these big city players are moving into the small cities.
Yes.
Last two things which are very very critical is, I think आज तक जो हम entrepreneurship देखते आए या करते आए, ये सारे जो products हैं, all these products are primarily focused on aping the West.
Right.
So look at it. We realized कि अच्छा एक social networking बहुत big हो रहा है across the world. Let's start making social networking sites, right?
Right.
Falana product is a very Western product and has hit the Silicon Valley. Now let's start doing that. I think वो छोड़ के this generation
Right.
of entrepreneur I have started seeing have started understanding the gap in India today, and that is where opportunities, larger opportunities, because ultimately the market is here. So I think COVID gave us a huge chance of understanding our own gaps, and that's why if you see the rate of innovation and the fast pace of development has now hit India and Indian entrepreneurs. And that's why I challenge you that the next set of entrepreneurs are going to be in rural areas, because that is where the largest of the gaps are, and that is where talent is going to be, and that is where the lowest least cost, so a lean ecosystem. And I think Sridhar Vembu has shown the way, not only to us, he has shown the way to the world, because that is where you need to go back. That is where our roots are, your roots are.
Correct. Interesting. So I think you make a very important point saying that जब भी startup के बारे में सोचना है तो tech startup की दिमाग में आता है. That is how the mindset has developed. And I try to break this very myth in my book also that startup is a lot beyond technology. It's actually about धंधा, जो कि actually कहीं से भी हो सकता है और कहीं से भी opportunity निकल के आ सकती है अगर आप में वो stride है तो. So
So,
that is
Pawas, I told you belong to a Jain family. मैं हमेशा कहती हूँ कि इंडिया में the concept of MBA schools, Master of Business Administration, is a very very Western concept. हमारे तो families में the entire clan of Banyans, what exactly is it?
yeah.
You think I used to have a professor. I am a graphology student, so I attended a couple of graphology sessions. So I used to have this teacher who used to say something very nice. He said, जिसको पानी बचाना आ गया ना, उसको दुनिया में सब कुछ आ जाता है. And that's why Rajasthani Marwadis really
Yeah.
can do business very well. And if you actually look at it, all grocery stores, largest chains, are run by people who have faced shortage of water, whether it's in
Yes.
Kutch or it's in Marwar.
Yeah, exactly. No, I absolutely agree with you because the kind of also it helps a lot. I mean, and nothing against any other city or state, but the kind of upbringing that we have and the kind of network that we grow up in here. I mean, it's very business inducive. So I mean, the initial training वो बचपन में ही हो जाती है तो फिर वो challenges थोड़े easy लगते हैं. So that's the only thing. So, before we move forward and I ask you one last question about entrepreneurship, I want, us to be joined by another guest on stage and actually who turned out to be a batchmate of yours. So I want to invite Swaroop Nanda, the CEO of Lead Start Publishing, who become a published author. And this was actually when I was discussing with you. So this was very interesting because when I told Shweta ma'am कि मेरी book publish हो रही है, and I'm very happy to tell you that it is being published by one of the leading publishers, and she was like, वो तो मेरा batchmate है. So that was actually very interesting. So thanks a lot, Swaroop, for joining us on stage as well.
Hi, am I audible to you guys? My video, I'm not able to see my video.
We switched on. You are perfectly audible.
Is my video visible? I'm not able to see myself.
Switch on your video from the panel below.
Oh yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, hi. Hi Shweta, how are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Long
Now
time.
that's not fair. We can't meet online, right? Swaroop?
Yeah, of course.
And that too through Pawas. I mean, he was telling me that, do you know Lead Start? I said, oh, I know Swaroop very well. He's my batchmate.
Yeah.
So,
Including like
Swaroop, I think you are
Raj-
supporting your entrepreneurs, so congratulations. I think you're doing phenomenally well. And with the great books that you've come up with, I'm sure एक अच्छा author आपने इसको join किया list को. So congratulations on that as well.
Thanks Shweta. Hi.
So, okay, so, before we move on and ask more questions about, Swaroop's journey, one question that, I would want you to address, Shweta, and then I'll ask the same question to Swaroop to take forward, is that, a lot of startup entrepreneurs especially who come from non-metros and want to, face a lot of challenges, they face a lot of mental health issues. And mental health is actually a real issue among youngsters, especially among entrepreneurs. So, what do you think about the failures, how to face failures, and what would be your message to those youngsters who are trying to make it big?
Okay, so see, whether it's entrepreneurs or not entrepreneurs, right? Whether it's employers or employees, mental
Yeah,
health is a real issue, and it's an issue with. It can be an issue with anyone and everyone. But yes, more with entrepreneurs because you know this journey is very lonely. When you start off with an idea, you are alone with the idea. So
right.
you now need to sell the idea to a lot of people, including, as I told you, my own father, because I had to sell my own idea to my family. Sometimes
Yes,
you are wasting money on the idea and it doesn't turn out well. But then, as as people say that failure is the first step to success, and if you fail, it just means that you have learned another way of not doing it right. So you know 10 more ways that you can still try, and that is the spirit of entrepreneurship. So with that spirit, when you start, you can end up being a successful entrepreneur. And hence, I feel failures are very important for an entrepreneur because it sets the tone right, because you need to understand in a pyramid, when you reach at the top, it's always lonely. It's in the entrepreneurial journey, in a corporate journey, in a political journey, and in life also. Somewhere on the top, you are lonely. As a decision maker, you need to be alone, and hence
yes,
at that point of time, all your health, including your mental, your physical, your emotional and your spiritual health needs to be extremely aligned to your goal, to your purpose, to your larger purpose of life. And that is why, as an entrepreneur, it is very, very critical that knowingly, understandingly, and with extreme clarity, you work on it. And one of the most important things I think is where we lack today is the education system, because the education system does not teach us to fail. We do not teach our children that it's fine, it's okay to fail. And I would rather want
yes,
my children to fail and understand that failures, you need to handle that stress, that ability to handle failure needs to be taught in school. And if schools are not teaching it, at least in a parental setup at home, it needs to be taught, because that gives you larger knowledge and makes you a stronger person than success can ever. And hence, I personally feel that as an entrepreneur, one of the biggest skill set to acquire is to understand that if my idea fails or if I fail, there are exit doors open. And that's why, as a government, also, we came out with a very strong exit policy, because it's fine. We need to have an exit policy in life. We need to understand, and especially to women, I always say this: never call your startups as your own babies,
yes,
because it's fine to be passionate about your startup, but ultimately it's a business. So you need to understand if it's failing, if it's not making money, if you're not going right, if it's not scaling up, you need to exit or to make a plan to ensure that there needs to be the right effort to scale it or to correct or modify it. So yes, I completely agree. Tackling failure has to be taught. Either it needs to be self taught, but that is the fundamental and foundation of making of a successful
interesting. So I think yeah, I think Shweta, that is one of the key takeaways that we would take away from this session. That it's okay to fail, and it's okay, and we should actually start addressing failures. And I think वो जो पूरा एक debacle होता है, which you mentioned very clearly and transparently, कि whether I should move on from the startup because it's failing, or I should keep hanging on to it because it's my baby. That has been addressed in my book, and that is in fact a very important part of the book that makes it. So, Shweta, first of all, thanks a lot for taking out time for doing this. Your copy of my book is already on the way, and I would be very eagerly waiting for your feedback as well. Thank you
absolutely. And I'll give an online feedback as well. Thank you, Pawas. Thank you so much.
so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Swaroop, let's catch up for coffee soon.
Yes, very soon, very soon. It's been a while. It's been a while.
And I'm going to only quit after I hear the answer to this question that Pawas has posed to you, and then I'm going to say goodbye to both of you.
Sure.
Absolutely. So, Swaroop, actually, the same question continued to you. So, we are talking about challenges, failures, and what has your entrepreneurial journey been like, and what are the challenges that you have faced in that journey?
Well, very interesting question. And Shweta, thanks so much for putting together the perspective on failure, right? In fact, in the space of, on the domain of business that we are in, where we are producing something which is creative in nature and doesn't have a need gap, existing, right? Like, for example, any other business, whether you're manufacturing an automobile or say you're manufacturing a handset, right? At least the questions are sorted, right? Make it cheaper, make it faster, kind of a thing. But with the creative space, especially non-academic books, there is no requirement, right? To answer Pawas's question on my personal journey, I used to work with the National Geographic Channel for 5 years prior to starting on my own, right? And the starting on my own didn't happen out of any interest to get funded or whatever. It was just madness, and you just kind of jump in it, right?
Yeah.
So no strategy there. It's a dumb answer, just madness, right? Now, within the first 2 years of Lead Start, 2010 to 2012, we created the largest product that sold in India at that point in time, Asura, one of our marquee flagships.
Yeah.
And after that, I faced 2013. I faced my largest setback, so to say. We were bootstrapped, and for the next book that came in, right, for a bootstrap company, and I also come in from a middle class family, and from Pune. Dad's a scientist, and all that. I plonked in a very large sum of own and family money into a single project, and that didn't deliver the numbers that it should have, right? And once that failure happens, right, everybody you speak to is an expert on why did it fail,
Yes.
right? And they tell you, this was bad, that was bad, the cover was bad, this, it is all random, right? And this is 2013. And from 2013 till about 2018, 5 years, I've lived with a question feeling stupid every single day of how do we make creativity, um, somewhere data driven, right? And I used to be a very active part of the startup ecosystem. I would see how other apps, how other mobile phone, everything else in the startup system getting built.
Yeah.
And one thing that differentiates, let us call the creative ecosystem, which is books, movies, and music, and all the other businesses in the world, there is only one difference, right? All the other businesses, all the other, whether it's an app, it's a furniture company, it's an FMCG, whatever that is, they continually iterate and improve, right? That gives them the ability to be more successful gradually,
Yes.
right? If Amazon would be in its avatar that it launched 20 years back, it'd be nutcase, right? But for all the creative products, it is expected, and it is expected of you, Powers, to be creating the first product and be having a major success story out of your first product without any iteration, right? With those insights in mind, we created Pencil, and it was a journey of Lead Start that kind of led to Pencil, where now authors, for the very first time in the world, are able to see how readers are reading their books. You can actually see, 100 people started the book, 80 people ran away at chapter 3 or whatever, right? And now you know where the problem is. Not only that, you can go back and change the product, and the product changes worldwide in the subsequent version. Right? So we've kind of enabled what I learned from the publishing space or the creative space, and from the startup space of regularly iterating and making it better. Yeah, so it's been an interesting journey. I thought of putting together the publishing and the startup ecosystems together in my story. So yeah. That's what about it. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so Shweta, we would, I know, your schedule. So if you will join us and stay here, more than happy. But you are
No,
all free
thank
to
you,
go.
thank you. I'm going to catch Swaroop over a cup of coffee now.
Of course.
Thanks,
Thank
Pawas.
you.
Thank
Looking
you.
forward. See
Bye.
ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Take care. Yeah, yeah.
So,
Great.
Swaroop, continuing with your insights on the publishing industry and how your journey panned out. One very important point I want to ask here is that with all the data-driven content product that you created with Pencil, how do you see the future of paperback publishing in this scenario?
So paperback is just an addition. So paperback even today for revenues across publishers globally contributes to about 92% of revenue. Ebook is barely at about 8%. Right?
Yeah,
Pencil, what we are developing is an analytics base to help you get some sample understanding of how readers are reading the books.
right,
After that, once you iterate, the change is also in the paperback. It is not only in the ebook.
right,
Right. So every subsequent version, paperback is an addition. It is very easily changeable.
right.
Paperback is I'm very certain is going to be there. Plus now with a lot of privacy issues,
Yeah,
people prefer a paperback which cannot be traced back to
yeah,
things and people cannot use that data, etc. Paperback is right there, and we're completely supporters of paperback. In fact, from being a complete paperback person, I became a complete device reader because device reading is much faster,
yeah,
right? And from device reading, I've kind of moved back to paperback. It just happened naturally, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
So before we come and close this with specifically with talking about the first time, I just want to understand from you before that. Because every thing that we do, even publishing in the creative industry for that matter, it's a business. So when you decide what books to publish, what are the criteria that you look at, and is there a business mindset behind that as well? So what is the criteria that you look at?
Awesome. Glad you asked that question, Pawas. Part one is every single product that we create is really dear to our hearts, and it is something that follows into a structure or something that we want to do. Right
Yeah,
now, what is it that we wanted to do with your book and you as an author is you know entrepreneurship is bursting across the seams across India, right?
right.
And people are jumping in for the wrong reasons.
Yeah,
Uh, while it is very important to share stories of success, right? Just like Shweta was also mentioning, it is very important to share success, stories of failure and how to get up from failure. People should
yeah,
not come in thinking that I've come in with this thing. This has worked in X geography. I'm just going to copy paste that in India. It's going to work,
yeah,
right? Those things are completely dreamy. They're wishful thinking, right?
yeah,
Nothing in reality. Stuff that we loved about your book is very very realistic. It allows somebody to have an inner view of an entrepreneur's life, beyond the startup itself, right? Otherwise, one gets lost into only statistics, which are you don't you cannot make any emotion out of market share, right?
correct.
But what happened to the entrepreneur? How did he get there? The 10-15 years or whatever 3-5 years that you're working on this startup, where you're burning midnight oil, you're going through so many troubles. Where is that documented?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
You did a wonderful job of doing that, right? What happens to your personal life? What happens to your love life? What happens to family around? Right? How do people treat you? Right? To the time once you're there on the league that you are today, everyone's going to say amazing things and this is how it should be. But you've been a uh, you know uh, you've lived it, so yeah, that's there. So passion for entrepreneurship, the kind of market that entrepreneurship opens, and we need to put in content that is valuable for people to read, not just books that just show, oh, this entrepreneur started from here and it is here,
correct.
this guy he's done 5 startups and he's become a billionaire and a millionaire, etc. There are the remaining stories of the 97%. Where is that?
Yeah. Yeah.
So thanks, Pawas, to do that, and it's a service that you're doing for India and the world both. Yeah, thank you, and so privileged to have you as a
Some
part. Yeah,
I think you have beautifully summed up actually the book that I have written, and I mean, that is exactly the idea behind it. That while and in fact, the point that you were also making when you were telling me about your journey, that when there is a failure, everybody has a lot of things to say,
yes,
but nobody is there to actually document it and tell you what those failures were and how those challenges were and how did they face them. So I think that is one thing. And I mean, any message from you for the readers of this book or any particular, I mean, general readers in India, any message from you before?
for the readers of this book, please buy it and please read it, and you would have a wonderful story to to read, and lots of stuff to learn. So it might be partially autobiographical. I'm not commenting whether it is or not, but it definitely gives you a deep insight into how an entrepreneur's life is, and people who live with their life with a lot of passion, there is a great story anyways. So whether it's an entrepreneur or an artist or whoever, right? So Pawas has lived his life with a lot of lot of passion, and that enables him to write wonderful stories. It's a brilliant story. Please pick it up. You'll be missing out a beautiful story if you don't. Cheers. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sarup. Thanks for those kind words, and thank you for taking out time for being a part of the launch.
Most
Uh, Thank you so much. So I'll just do a quick book reading now, and Swaroop,
sure.
I mean, I would be very happy if you are a part of it.
Of course.
Thank you. So this is one part of the book, and I mean what we have been talking in all the session, and even in this one with Farooq, that mental health of entrepreneurs and failures is a very important part of the book. And one of my favorite parts is where that major twist comes, and which is actually which absorbs you when you read it as a part of the story. But this is a very important part of the book where actually the first anxiety attack kicks in for the protagonist. So, and one thing that I've done throughout all the chapters of the book is that I start with a couplet of two lines of poetry. So this is how this actually starts. If you're going to ask me how am I won't let you in. The doors are locked and bolted, not knowing where to begin. So it was past midnight. Raghav sat beside the toilet seat, completely drained out after vomiting a couple of times. He had pangs of anxiety as his stomach churned. Thousands of things sprang up in quick succession in his mind, every minute, at such a fast paced rate that he felt he may have a breakdown. He tried hard to compose himself several times, but his heartbeat raced faster than ever. Completely unrelated events raced through his mind in audio-visual sequence. At one moment, he was in a cafe breaking up with Kanika, as he said, it is a 10 million USD valued investor-funded company, Kanika. And the next minute, he was on Jubilee line of the London Tube reading an article about thriving advertising sector of the UK. Keshav's awe of his startup, Disha's undying belief in him, his parents' reaction to leaving a well paying consulting job, everything flashed through his brain like a soap opera as he vomited again. He felt dizzy, he was shaking, he was scared. He felt a weird vacuum again, an awkward fear from being alone in this house. Senseless and scary calculations raced through his mind. Like how much time would it take for someone to find out if he was dead in the house? Probably not before the maid arrived at 8 in the morning. Ria's entire Facebook profile ran past his eyes for no reason whatsoever. He suddenly decided to bring himself together. He mustered whatever strength he had and stood up with support of the wash basin. He looked into the mirror at his reflection. He stared into his own dead, empty eyes. It did not help, as he felt more frightened and lonelier than ever. So that is one part of the book where I talk about how the anxiety attack starts.
Wow. 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 It's so emotive, and so it just captures people in rapt attention. Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Glad.
so I think that is the perfect wrap of the session of the book launch. And I mean, I have done multiple shameless plugs during the launch that the buying link is in the caption, and everyone who is watching it should please go buy it, not for just the first time author, but for the amazing team, amazing efforts that have gone behind bringing this book to life. So your final words before we go on.
So thank you, Pawas, for writing the book first of all, and then it's a privilege to have you as a part of the Lead Start family. We hope the highest of success happens for the book and you as an author. And we're looking forward for whatever you're writing next. So get going.
Definitely, definitely. I'm sure. I mean, not depend. I mean, this book definitely a lot relies on this. And as I told in the starting of this session, it has been a constant dream of last 15 years to see my name on a published book. So it has finally come true. And definitely, I mean, I hope this goes well, and there are a lot more stories waiting to be told.
Of course. Thanks, Pawas.
Thank you, thank you everyone for joining.
Take care. See you.
Thank you. So that's a wrap for the book launch of the first time. Thank you everyone for joining us in this session. A lot of people have joined us, commented, and given and shown their love for the book. Now it's time to actually practically show love to the book. Go to the link in the caption on Amazon and Flipkart, and please buy your copy. It's live from today. And while you buy your own copy, also please do share it across. Share it across your friends, family, your network, especially most especially to those startup entrepreneurs that you know who are trying to make it big. This book is to all those millions of dreams, all those millions of entrepreneurs who are in different parts of the country, to all those people who dream of making it big one day. So thanks a lot for joining in. Thank you so much.